People often complain that they were dealt a bad hand, and that feeling is usually very real. You were born into the wrong family, entered adulthood at the wrong moment, carried burdens others never had to carry, so when you look around, all you see are losing cards and no obvious way out. Jack London once put it bluntly, life is not always a matter of holding good cards, but sometimes playing a poor hand well. Life isn't always about having great cards. Quite often, it asks a simpler, more uncomfortable question. With whatever is currently in your hand, are you living clearly enough and decently enough to last the whole game? The deal is rarely fair, and there's no need to pretend otherwise. Your background, health, timing, luck, or the economic cycle you're born into aren't things you can change quickly by sheer willpower. Some of them you can only endure and move through. But life doesn't grade you on what you lack, it grades you on how you use what you have. That difference decides whether you break early in a panic or keep your rhythm long enough for a real opening to appear. You'll see people with great cards who still manage to flip the table and wreck their own game, usually because they get greedy, want to win fast, get impatient, take things personally, and play on emotion. A good hand is a condition, not an insurance policy. And you'll also meet people with terrible cards who become harder and harder to knock out over time, not because of miracles, but because they don't self-destruct. They don't volunteer themselves for the dumbest possible mistakes. They understand that when capital is thin, rule number one is to stop unnecessary bleeding. With a bad hand, what you need first isn't luck, it's discipline to avoid the kind of losses that happen because you were stupid. Those losses rarely come from life punching you in the face, they come from self-sabotage, borrowing recklessly to win it back, saying the wrong things and burning your own bridges, quitting out of wounded pride, punishing your body with alcohol, late nights, and junk food, and calling it stress relief. Repeat that long enough and the game collapses even if no one is actively trying to beat you. You drained your own chips. A bad hand forces you to play tight. Fewer mistakes, less waste, less drama, and far less impulsiveness. Not because you're cowardly, but because you don't have the bankroll to pay tuition for emotional outbursts. In that phase, your first form of capital isn't money, it's vitality. You can sleep, you can eat properly, you can keep a steady rhythm, you can work without mental fog and handle problems without your emotions flying everywhere. Because being poor and wrecking your health turns poverty from a circumstance into a steel clamp that locks both opportunity and clarity in place. Taking decent care of yourself is already a good card, even if nobody stands up to applaud. When your body is slightly better, your mind is slightly sharper. When your emotions are slightly calmer, your hands are slightly steadier. Stack enough of those slightlys and suddenly your entire life becomes more controllable. Only then does the second form of capital matter, skill. A bad hand often creates a dangerous illusion that you need one dramatic flip to get revenge on life. Life, unfortunately, rarely rewards impatience. What it does reward is small but solid things, a clearer profession, a concrete money-making skill, the habit of finishing what you start, and a reputation for says it, does it. None of that looks flashy, but together they compound into real choice. And when you have choice, freedom appears in its real form. You can leave a bad seat and still survive. You can say no without collapsing because you have no backup. Not freedom as a slogan, freedom as leverage. Many people lose not because their cards are bad, but because they play emotionally. Motivated one day, gone the next. Praised and inflated today, criticized and shattered tomorrow. They don't lose for lack of strong cards, but for lack of a steady steering wheel over time. If you're holding a bad hand, you don't need to prove you're special. Being special doesn't save anyone in a long game. Being reliable does. Reliable with your health, reliable with your word, reliable to the people who are counting on you. When reliability becomes thick enough, opportunities tend to show up in very practical ways, because people don't need you to fly high for a good story. They need you to stand firm and get things done. In the end, life may deal you a brutal round, but it will never hold your hand and play it for you. The only thing that ever changes the color of the game is how you place each move, one card at a time.